Carol Peterman, owner of TableFare.com. One of my favorite condiments is harissa. It's a spicy chili paste from Tunisia. It's used in cuisines throughout North Africa, and there are plenty of pre-made versions available, but you can also make it yourself. And I'm going to show you how. You can use any variety of dried chili you like, depending on how hot you want your harissa to be. Traditionally, it's made with the extremely hot peri-peri chili, but I'm using a milder mix of 3 guajillo and 1 mulatto chili, and then I've also got some chili diarbo, and total it's about 1.5 ounces of chilies. And I like to start by toasting the larger chilies. So to do that, you just need to remove the stem and cut them open. And I also remove the seeds because this chili paste, once it's ground up, the seeds don't really grind down. And I find the texture nicer to have the seeds removed. So once the chilies are cut open flat, they just go right in a dry skillet over a medium-low heat and let them toast. And as soon as they start to take on a little color or a little blister, flip them and do the same to the other side. And that's all it takes to get a really nice roasty taste on your chilies. Okay, and just as these start to get a little blistery and start to show some signs of color, flip them over. Get the same thing happening on the other side. Just takes a couple of minutes. All right, and you can see these nice little toasty scorch parts. That's what you're looking for. So once these are done, pull them off the heat. And then you want to snip them up into like 1/2-inch pieces. And these chilies will then get soaked in about a cup of hot water, 1/2 cup of hot water, just enough to cover them so that they'll soften. And once we put them in the food processor, they'll be a lot more likely to blend to a beautiful paste after having a little soak in some hot water. I like the depth and flavor that sun-dried tomatoes add, and so in another small bowl, I'm going to soak a 1/4 cup of sun-dried tomatoes, which is about 1 ounce, with another 1/2 cup of hot water. Again, just really for the purpose of softening them. So the spices that go in the harissa start with a tablespoon of cumin seed, and these just go right in a spice grinder and get ground to a powder. Also a tablespoon of coriander seed, and a teaspoon of caraway seed. And the other chili that I'm using in the harissa is the diarbo. And I've already ground this down. It was about 1/2 cup of the chili peppers, and I've ground this down just to a powder. It doesn't need to be soaked the way the larger chilies do. So I'll give this a spin. And the spices are ready to go. Now that the chilies and the sun-dried tomatoes have had their little soak, we're going to add them to the bowl of a food processor. And you just want to grab the chilies, leave the liquid behind, And same with the tomatoes. Just goes right in there. And the sun-dried tomatoes. Now you can save this liquid. If our paste is a little bit thick, we can use that to thin it out. So in with the chilies and the tomatoes goes a 1/4 cup of lemon juice, 1½ teaspoons of salt, and our spices. And these that we ground in the spice grinder, as well as the extra chili that I've got ground right here. So we'll give this a spin. And then as it's processing, I've got 3 tablespoons of olive oil that I'll drizzle in while it's whirling around. All right, let's take a look at this. And this looks like a great texture to me. As I said, you can certainly thin it out a little bit if you would like to with some of the soaking liquid. And it's a good idea to give it a quick little taste and make sure you've got the right seasoning with salt. It's wonderful. It's really spicy and tangy, and a fabulous batch of harissa. You can use this in all sorts of different applications. You want to store it in the refrigerator. And if you're going to be keeping it for longer than a couple of months, I recommend portioning it out into small containers, even an ice cube tray, and putting it in the freezer. A dollop of harissa will spice up any soup or stew, lentils, and it's great in rice dishes as well. And it makes a fabulous spicy rub if you really like spicy food, just right on chicken or meat. And a touch stirred into mayonnaise is also a great way to dress up a sandwich. So if you're not familiar with harissa, I hope you'll make some, and I'm sure you're going to love it as much as I do.